This is a live mini workshop. The idea is to really give you as much useful, tangible information as I can to help you optimize your SaaS landing pages. I'll be taking questions throughout. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute. It's really informal. And go ahead and ask a question at any time. So here's the 10 questions that you must answer above the fold so that users register and stick, so that visitors to your landing page register and stick. And before we get into it, who am I? My name is Jean-Michel. I'm a SaaS marketing consultant. I've been a chief marketing officer, a chief product officer. I have 20 plus years of experience launching products and running moonshot type of products at startups. And I've run over $250 million of successful launch programs. And personally, I know I must have run over 500,000 split tests at this point in my life. I've worked at Google Ventures funded companies. I worked at the holding companies that own Vistaprint, as well as NanoSolar and quite a few others. So that's a little bit about me. And that's me there climbing the nose on El Capitan. All right, so let's get into it. You guys can still see the slides? No, otherwise, just unmute. All right, so your landing page has to answer really basic stuff. And most, especially B2B SaaS pages, get this horribly wrong. The things you need to answer are, what is in it for me? That's the only thing people care about, is what is in it for me. And I always love these kind of cheesy business graphics of the three pillars. So what are the three pillars of what is in it for me? What the F is it? So what is this thing? People don't know what product category your product is. And you need to let them know immediately what category, so they don't have to put extra brain power into thinking through what this thing is. The next thing is, who does it work for? A lot of SaaS pages, especially if you're a technical founder, it's a really common mistake where you try to make a general solution that works in a lot of cases, and the landing page or the user registration page doesn't clearly say what niche it's for, what specific type of user. How do you know that you're in the right place if you're at this landing page? Sure, maybe the app works, but does it work for me? These are the questions that people have. And so you need to call them out and be very clear that it helps a specific type of person. The last is, why should I believe you? So if you get all the way through this and someone thinks, wow, it is talking to me, I know what it is, I know how it benefits me. The next question is, everybody has heard a lot of talk on the internet and they want to see, is this legitimate? Is there a reason? How should I believe you? Can you prove it? In sales copywriting, the strongest tactic, the strongest technique you can use is proof. So if you have proof or a reason to believe you, somebody vouching for you, someone vouching for the product, people want to see that, especially more so now than ever before, because I don't know if you have seen the no-code movement, but there are kids using AI to slap together an app, slap together a landing page, and they have these apps that don't work. But it's getting easier and easier for people to do the beginning stage to make it look like there's something there. And it's more and more important that you are able to show why somebody should believe you. And the final, most important principle for all of this is, don't make me think. You, especially if you're the technical founder and you're making this page, why your app is cool, you know what it does. But a lot of people, when they're writing their landing pages, they make these assumptions that the other person who just landed there, who maybe they're on their phone, maybe they're on their phone in the toilet, maybe the kids just went to bed and they're super exhausted and they just got a chance to like scroll the phone. They got to your landing page somehow, and then you're expecting them to put together the dots of what this actually means instead of just straight up telling them how it will benefit them. So it's really fundamentals. So these are the 10 questions. Before I get into these, anybody have any questions at this point? Go ahead and shoot it in the chat. All right. I don't see any questions just yet. All right, let's keep going. So these are the 10 questions that I like to ask for every landing page that I look at. It's really basic, but it's the kinds of things that I see wrong on so many landing pages. Even established companies don't always get this right, especially if they're not using paid traffic and they let all the rest of their marketing solve their bad landing page for them. So these are the 10 questions I ask. One is, what's the product category? Who is this for? What pain are you removing? And why should I believe you? Another important question you need to ask is, could the competition say exactly the same thing? If your landing page says in bold letters something that any one of your competitors could say, they're not going to choose you. The odds are they're not going to choose you. They're going to choose the category leader. There needs to be a reason, a gap in the market, that you make it very obvious why your app is better for the specific niche in this gap in the market. Otherwise, It's just a Me Too app. It'll never grow that large. And this actually relates to, if you look at category leaders, the category leaders get like 80, 90% of the market share. And so you need to have some kind of way to define yourself as a different product category that people just understand. Okay, as we go through the bottom row, it's what is the transformation from the customer point of view? So from their point of view, how does their life change? Finally, you also need to look at, does the app really and truly solve that pain? It's possible to advertise an app or run a landing page that talks about maybe the biggest pains that people have in that specific niche. And that will get people to register, but it won't get them to actually buy your app if your app isn't actually removing that pain point that you're talking about on your landing page. Then we look at the level of intent. So I always like to have an increasing level of intent from whatever's driving the traffic, whether it's SEO or ads, to the landing page. So what does that mean? That means if your ads or your pages that are receiving traffic that are ranked, whatever the headline is there, maybe it's a story or something like this, you want to make sure that the landing page is a higher intent level that is making a promise or making an offer. So really a very high level of intent. Lastly, you want to look at what are the chief benefits of the app. And finally, people want to know if you've got all this, you've answered all these main questions above the fold, they're still nervous to click because they're wondering what's going to happen when I click. Am I going to get, especially now with so many people using funnels, people are worried that you're going to go through an endless list of upsells. And people want to know what's going to happen to me when I click. Where does this click take me to? What the hell is it again? But can I show them visually? The next step is this. So those are the main 10 questions. Okay, Gab's good. All right, let's see. Trevor, do you want me to do your landing page? If you do, put it in the chat and I'd be happy to roast it after we go through the slides. Okay, the next thing I wanted to look at is just, let's look at how this is done on one of the best pages on the internet. So how do you know what the best pages are on the internet? Here's one of them. How do I know this is one of the best pages online? I love this page. I know it because the marketer that owns this buys SaaS companies and increases their value. That's what he does. He owns, I don't know, 25 or something different marketing SaaS apps. And all of them have standardized their landing pages to be more or less very similar to this. And this is probably their flagship biggest product that they own. So it's one of the more optimized pages on the net. And one thing you should know is, unfortunately, there's no exact formula that's going to work for every niche, for every app. You have to do the work yourself. And I think this marketer, they're buying marketing apps, so they know what works for marketers in doing this kind of app. Yours might be different, but it does do all these 10 questions. So let's just look at this. So the first, I'm going to go more or less in order of these. So what is the product category? It doesn't call it out, obviously. It doesn't say, hey, product category is, written out here. But I think just for Opt-in Monster, you know what it is. It's not confusing to folks. Like, you're not going to get to Opt-in Monster and say, gosh, does this do web pages? What does this do? You're going to know it's about getting opt-ins. So the product category is covered, probably also is who's it for, because it's in marketing. So sometimes it's not necessary to be super explicit if it's totally obvious what the product is. But let's look at this. What are the chief benefits of the app? I'm going to try to draw on the screen here. Let's just look at how you can analyze this page. And this is what you should do with your own page. You should look at what is at the function of every word or every group of words with modifiers, just so you know what's going on. So we're going to look at these. Let's look at this first. What are the benefits? So first of all, the headline itself is a massive benefit and a promise. Very high intent. Actually, so we're going to talk about this one. Convert and monetize your website traffic, right? It's worded in such a way that it's telling you, go do it. Go convert and monetize your website traffic right now. It's a command, and it's also a promise. There's an extremely high level of intent. It's not saying, learn about the secret that Susie used, or some curiosity like, you'll never believe what happens. There's no story here. There's only like a command and a promise. So it's extremely high level of intent. The only way you could do a higher level of intent is make this headline an offer, which usually doesn't make sense for SaaS. So we've covered this one. Let's look at the benefits. Okay, number one, we have stop losing visitors. So this is a main pain point, but you could also look at it as a benefit. Wow, now I've stopped the pain. So that's one. Two, grow your email list would be the next benefit. That's something you want. Your users would say, yeah, I want to what? I want to grow my email list. Great. Then we have get more leads and increase sales. So we have, this could be a pain or a benefit depending on your point of view. And then we have these. So we have three, usually have them in groups of three, have these three main benefits. So right away, we know what the benefits are. What's going to happen when I click? Next question. Get opt-in monster now seems to be a sign up page. You think you're going to go to a sign up page. I think that's pretty clear. And then as I'll show you later, it also shows you in the next pages. Does your app truly solve the pain? I believe opt-in monster does. Transformation from a customer point of view. They have that right here. Get twice the results in half the time at prices that you love. And they've already talked about what the benefits are. So I think this is also covered. That's all. If you notice, they're covering a lot of questions above the fold. But okay, let's talk about, I think they've also answered what pain they're removing. That's stop losing visitors. So they've got that. Now let's talk about why you should believe them. Enormous, right? We've got a guarantee, high performer, verified, trusted thing. And then it's got huge brands that you recognize, right? Patreon, McAfee, all these guys, American Express, ClickBank, although I don't know if people trust ClickBank, TripAdvisor, WordPress, Beginner, Pinterest, Experience. So they've got these, Capterra, they've got these large brands on here. Next page also is showing how many sessions they're capturing leads for. So it's this absurdly high number. Okay. So is this making sense, guys? You see how above the fold, they're really focusing on answering these main questions. The other thing I want to talk about is what's going to happen when I click. So it's like, what is this thing? What am I getting? Part of it, they answer right away with visuals. So they know what kind of things people are hoping to use to get opt-ins. And they're trying to show you those in a visual way so that you don't have to think. It's much quicker to see, oh, cool, I get these different wheels, timers, exit intent, geolocation, templates, things you might be wondering about the product. They're answering rather visually immediately. So don't even have to scroll the page to see, oh yeah, it's got all this stuff. It's got the main stuff I'm worried about. Okay, let's keep going on the best landing page of all time. Okay, so the next question is, again, this is related to what's going to happen when I click. Like, what is this thing? And I want to point out that they're trying to show you the features that you are interested in the app. This is answering the question. This is trying to reduce the fear. Right, what is this thing? When I click sign up, like what am I getting into? Is it some terrible app? Is it really difficult to use? They're showing you visually, hey, it's got all these things I want. And I want to point out one other thing. These are all great headlines. These are high intent headlines at every step of the way. Of course, they're going to have 3 steps. So it's not confusing to people. They're not going to have 48 steps. It's 3. It's got to be 3. But again, they are commands that are telling you to go get what you already want, right? So it's saying, hey, create a visually stunning offer. Who doesn't want a visually stunning offer? And it's telling you, hey, do it. Go create a visually stunning offer. There's a very high intent language here. It's a command telling you to go get the thing they know that you want. So again, they're pointing out the benefits in a very high intent language way. Anybody have any questions about this intent level of language? Or is that perfectly clear? Feel free to chime in, guys. Seems perfectly clear. All right. So let's look at, as you scroll down, what else they've got in here. Now, they already had a lot of material to try to get you to trust them at the beginning. But as you scroll down the page, they have more. They add more. Let's see what we've got here. We've added more reasons why they should believe you. And they're trying to show you results and proof again, right? So it's a testimonial, but it's also results. We added a ton of names using this feature. Strongly recommend it. Instant 12% lift in sales. So again, they're bolding the things that are exactly the benefits that you're looking for when you came to this page in the first place. So I doubled my subscription rate immediately without annoying users. That's exactly what people want to do. So they're just pointing out that these are the reasons you should leave Opt-in Monster. How can you start to optimize your landing page if you can't yet afford A/B test to really drive traffic for A/B testing? So most startups, A/B testing doesn't make any sense, honestly. You can Google about A/B testing and conversion rate optimization, and you'll get all this really like textbook advice that would work fantastically if you're doing a job interview at some enormous company where you should make a hypothesis and you're going to need to test just one variable. You're going to need 25, usually you'll need 2,500 visitors, unique visitors for each variant. So if you're going to pay per click, typical PPC costs right now are $3 to $5 a click. And if you need 5,000 visitors, that could be it's quite a bit, right? Quite a bit, much more than a normal startup has in funds just to answer like, should the headline be X, Y, or Z? So here is what you can do instead. I'm just going to pull up the magic template. So let's just talk about these two sections. So if you're thinking, okay, great, I understand all this. I know I need a very high intent headline. That's one of the most important things. And the combination, this is like 90% of your landing page, is the combination of the headline, the subheadline, and the proof. If you wanted to optimize your headline and your subheadline, how can you do that without A/B testing? So I'm going to show you the best thing for this if you're a startup. This horribly ugly ad is the best possible way to optimize that. So what you can do, this is the trick. So instead of getting an A/B testing using like a visual web optimizer or getting an Unbounce account and using Unbounce or Optimizely or any of these landing page builders, they all depend on you driving traffic. So either you're paying for the click or you're going to wait like 1 month to 3 months to get that SEO traffic to trickle in to really know what the results are. So what can you do instead? If you want statistical significance, you still need hundreds of people to see your choices. You still want to bounce your ideas off of a ton of people. But what you don't want to have to do is pay to drive the traffic and run A/B tests. So the way around that is what I'm about to show you. So you can run this kind of ad. So this is an ad template. And if you were to make an ad that only has different headlines and is targeted correctly and is calling out your potential user in a clear way that they understand, you can actually run this as an ad and just see which ad gets the highest click-through rate. And so if you're running 10 of these ads with the cheapest kind of traffic objective, to test 10 different headlines for your landing page is going to cost you $30, and that's it. So with $30, you'll be able to get hundreds of people to view each option, and they vote with the clicks, and you're going to be able to see which headline actually drove them to click, which headline was more compelling to the average person in your niche who identifies with what you've described down here. So let's make it concrete. Does anybody want to do a live example where we will go through your landing page and we will look at different headlines and see how we could test different headlines? Anybody interested? So first we'll tear it apart. So I'm going to do the same thing I'm going to draw on this page. So first I'm going to tear it apart, and then I'm going to talk about exactly how you could use these ads to test better, higher intent messaging. Okay, so the first thing I'm looking at those 10 questions. So first I'm looking like, who is this for? Elevate customer engagement with no-code bots, automate outreach, content generation, and more with AI, plug assistance to the email, phone calls, SMS, WhatsApp, website chat, Telegram with ease, Zapier, blah, 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 blah. I don't know who it's for. So that's the first thing. Actually, maybe I'm sharing my whole screen, so maybe I can just put the questions side by side. So we'll do it with the questions and big questions. Okay, great. Okay, first thing I went for is who. So I don't know who it's for, right? So that would be one upgrade you could do, is even just put like the call out right up here. Hey, you guys. Hey, you. I don't know who it is for. But whatever your niche is, you can just literally write the name of your niche way up here. That would people would see that and be like, okay, I will read more. Then know it's for them. I think I know the product category, but I'm not exactly sure. I feel like this is AI phone bot stuff.
Yeah, it's AI phone bots. It's actually omni-channel, but so chat bots and phone bots at the same time.
Yeah. So that's okay. What pain are we removing? I don't know what pain are we removing. I'm not sure what's the big bad problem that's going to go away for me. I get that it's like customer engagement and bots go together, but it's not obvious. So I'm just like, one way to do this is just try to think dumber, turn your intelligence down. And if the words don't just straight up tell you, you didn't do it well enough because again, people are looking at landing pages while they're on the phone. They're like walking to the from a subway. They're just walking, doing different things. So that's not clear. Okay, now why should I believe you? Let's see if we've got that. Try it out. Okay, so I'm very skeptical. I don't know why I should believe you. I think this one would be probably one of, other than just making this page make sense and be more clear, the next biggest thing is like, why should I believe you? And the only reason that's always true, but specifically for AI bot stuff, there's a lot of these companies right now. Just there's so many. There's so many. There's also Go High Level and all these other marketing software. There's everybody that makes programs to run a call center. There's quite a few players in the market and a bunch of newcomers. So this is especially important in this category. Okay, could the competition say the same thing? Yes, they totally could. Elevate your customer engagement with no-code bots. And we don't have a way where right off the bat, it's different. It's catching my attention because it's slightly different, because it solves my specific problem some way. It just seems like, hey, we also do this. Trevor, is this making sense? And I'm sorry, I'm tearing it apart.
Yeah. No, keep going.
Keep going. Okay. All right. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's coming from a good place. So yeah, that's the thing. Any other of those companies could say the same kind of deal. They could say, hey, we also elevate our engagement with no-code bots. And that's one of the reasons why niching down is such a cheat code, because it makes it easier to find where you fit in the market. There's all these other products, but where is the gap in the market where you fit in? If you niche way down, it's easy to say no one's done it for you. It does like just lower the effort. But yeah, the competition could say the same thing. So we're not passing all these tests. What's the transformation? Yeah, we're talking about the features. We're talking about like we've automated stuff, but the transformation is probably actually, I don't know. It could be that they're getting a lower cost per appointment because they're increased their show rates. And funny thing in sales is that you can improve the sales team, or you can just get more people to show up to the calls. It's actually the same. You can improve all the sales team's close rate, or you can just get more people not to ghost on you. So you could actually tie this to revenue or profitability. So there's many different elements that you could talk about for the customer transformation. And then the more niche and specific you are, the easier it is to give it in a way that shows empathy, that shows, oh no, I get you guys. Those other people are just nerds who made generic software, but I understand your specific business problem. Because people, unfortunately, for all of us, or fortunately or unfortunately, we're not super logical. It's the emotions that get us, that like desire, worry. These things are affecting if we are going to sign up. Okay, does your app really and truly solve the pain? Customer engagement. Yeah, because I'm not sure about the pain, I'm not sure if you really solve the pain, but you do maximize outbound campaigns. Let's see if I get into it. I think you do get into it later, but not at the top. So now as I read the page more, I'm starting to get a picture of what it might be for. So like maybe this would be good for outbound lead generation. This is so technical. I actually know what you mean because I'm a big nerd, but saying, hey, what you're really saying is if you use our software, when the robots call for you, it sounds like you. It doesn't sound like a cheesy AI that's just going to get hung up on. It's actually going to sound like you. And that's going to mean you're going to get more phone calls actually picked up and someone's going to talk to you. That's what you really mean here, I think. But you're using this like specific, it's going to work, right? It's actually going to work because it sounds like you, and you're not going to be embarrassed that you're using this cheeseball stuff. It's going to sound cool. And that's what you need to say instead of, hey, super technical feature level details. But now I'm getting a sense that this is somehow related to outbound. So that needs to be up above the fold. Okay, yeah. So it's the same thing for these. As I go into the page, these are getting into features. And every place you have a feature, you just got to say, okay, let's imagine my user is like this. Whatever. What is your target user? Is it a certain kind of business?
Yeah, usually it could be sort of like smaller businesses, basically businesses that want to get appointments set often through their website. Yeah.
So that's a lot though. You got to go smaller.
Yeah, that is a lot. Yeah, like I'm still trying to figure out. I have a lot of customers, but I'm still trying to figure out like what's the specific one that recurs a lot. So you have to just figure out that out of all of them. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and then you can make it for them. But then you just think about whatever is the like purchaser at that company or the internal champion who's going to sign up and try new stuff and then try and sell to their boss, whichever it is. You have to figure out like what is it that they want and then talk to them. And you can't really, you want to take all these things that are feature level where you say seamless data integration. What that really means is like it plugs into your tools and you don't have 6 other things that you have to go log into and pull reports, right? You're trying to say it's going to save them time. So these are the kinds of translations that you can only do when your ICP is really clear, when your ideal, if it's either that guy that's signing up and selling it to his boss or it's actually the boss. But you need to know who they are. And if you're wondering how to figure that out and you already have customers, the easiest way to do that is literally look at all of your customers and just sort them by revenue and then give them another column, which is like, how easy is it to get this guy to win, to really have them have a smashing success with my software? And what you'll find is sometimes the top revenue is hard, but there's usually a sweet spot where it's, yeah, I get these guys don't churn, but they're also very easy. They're like easy to work with. They don't need support tickets. And you're able to find like what sub niche you could focus on given the information you already have. Like, for example, one of my clients wrote very generic software that used all over the world, ton of different, used on everything. It could do anything. And when we looked into it, we noticed that, wow, lawyers always buy lots of seats. They need no help and they never churn. And we said, okay, let's make a version of this app for lawyers. It's just your thing, lawyer. Just rename it, rebrand it, reskin it, and then you can raise the prices. Okay, those are the things that pop out for me on this page. Can we pick, just for the exercise, just for fun, just to jump ahead, imagine you've already done that activity. Who do you think would be the ideal user for this app?
We could maybe just go with consultants for now.
Okay. Okay, consultants. This is making me imagine all the ads I've seen. This like coaches and consultants. This one. No.
Okay.
You're with them. Yeah. It's crowded.
The other one we could try would be the other one we could try would be maybe for call centers. But
either one. Yeah, and that's a big market. That's why there's so many players in it. So when you find yourself in like a gigantic market, if you can go one more time and say like X coaches, something coaches, then it's a lot easier to really talk to them because you can say stuff they can't say. You can say, because who else is working on coaches? People trying to get, anyway, I digress. So coaches, let's go with coaches. And so what are some headlines that we could do for this app? So the current headline that I would test is the exact same headline. I'm just see like, how does this go? Bam. So this is literally like what the ad would look like. It's terrible. Has no body copy, nothing. And the idea is we run ads like this as a traffic objective with specific rules, and you'll be able to see what wins. So let's look at another one. What's another headline we could write? What do coaches and consultants want?
Yeah, I'll get more booked appointments for $1.
Right. That's what you're doing, right? You're not just getting them. What do they not? What do coaches hate? This is another one you could answer. Get more booked appointments without whatever they hate.
So no shows? Or what's another one?
Yeah. Okay. So instead of, you could say, okay, get more sales without, sales calls. You could call also. I don't know why I want to change it there. Without no shows. Okay. We could keep going. So you see how there's so many of these. And I'm telling you to test one of these little slides is about $3. Okay. How about stop no shows? So you could just keep working through all the different angles of this problem. So I'm just going to digress into, oh my God, I just did this. This is great. So if you're going to talk about coaches, there are a lot of coaches and they have problems and they don't have the same problems. Coaches with money and are going to buy your software and not churn have a different set of problems than coaches with no money, which is most of them. most consultants, most businesses are not amazingly high revenue. Most coaches are just starting out. It's the same problem in programming, right? Most programmers don't know what they're doing, right? It takes years to get the scale and there's always fewer than you want. So if you were to look at the whole market of coaches, because this is about your headline, there's a whole market of coaches and these are all the problems. The problems of the best, most qualified users for your SaaS are different than the problems of all coaches. And so you really want to think about talking to the problems of your ideal user. Does that make sense?
Yes.
One coach has a problem of, I have no leads. I have no leads. I'm going bankrupt. I have no cash flow. I have no money. I actually don't even know how to be a coach. There are people out there who are trying to get them, right? And you don't want to solve their problem. You want to figure out of your ideal user, what are the problems that they have? And that's the kind of thing you want to talk about right here in the headline. So for example, and there's different scales. So you could say, there's consultants where they have no staff, are going to have solopreneur is having a different kind of level of issues than somebody that runs a sales team and has setters, internal appointment setters. And so you've got to choose when you're working on deciding what problem and what headline and what things to test, what's are the problems of the people most likely to buy your software. And that's what you talk about way up here. And that's what you would test. Making
Okay,
sense?
so can we, we do some examples of,
Yeah, let's do it.
like what are some of the problems that the people who are at the top would have that that we should even just think about targeting?
In terms of for the coaches?
Yes, because it's like you said, people who have setters, people who don't have setters. So let's go with that. Yeah.
Okay, so you're doing like they have setters. Yeah, that's what you're thinking.
Yeah, let's say they have setters. What are some issues there?
Okay, let's see issues. Okay, this is, by the way, this is what you need to know, right? This is the thing. If you're whatever you choose, now as an entrepreneur, your job becomes I have to know those people inside and out. I need to have conversations with them. I need to talk to them. I need to understand their point of view. So I'm going to guess around here with you. You could have the one thing that comes to mind is you're at a specific level of business and you can't really afford another setter, but the setter is not able to handle all the calls.
Okay, bingo. There we go. Yeah, that sounds like a reasonable spot to plug us in. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just a specific.
Can I jump in with?
Please. Yes.
Please.
Okay. So what I can tell you is that level of anyone who's at that level are very keen in learning about new ways to optimize their processes, right? When you sell a product, even just concentrating on the pain points, you still get lost among all other people, all other solutions trying to sell the same thing. So a key component would be to actually differentiate yourself, how you're a differentiator between all the other alternatives that you are looking at. That's what's going to draw the most attention, is my suggestion.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. And that's what we were talking about with like gap in the market. If you are the tool for coaches, you have to make sure, are there other tools for coaches? If they're not, then great. You can have this specific niche. But if there are, you still need something else that makes you a unique solution. But just for the sake, I agree with you, Philip. Yeah. But for the sake of the activity, so we have, it's just maybe like my sitter can't field enough calls. They would also just talk about like they would say like marketing is too expensive. You would take one of these and then whichever one makes the most sense is what you would base your headline around all these problems here. So the first activity really is thinking through all these problems up here that make sense for your potential buyers. And then you would work on this like obvious headline that's highlighting the benefits. Another one might be like paid advertising is too expensive. And yes, you could take any one of these. Let's just pick one for example, so I don't get stuck in.
Yeah, I'm in my own experience. In my own experience, I have a lot more solopreneurs. I have a few coaches. I have a few calling centers, but I have a lot of solopreneurs. Who are using my app for inbound lead generation. Some of them are using for outbound lead generation using calls. So that's so like maybe
that's a better choice of because you might understand them better. So what are their specific problems of your best customers?
So of the people who are using it for those purposes, the chances tend to be just capturing the lead is like one of the problems. I've seen them basically be like, wow, this is really helping me out with. So from page visits. Yeah. And then also another aspect, of course, is like the call booking, but this isn't getting to like super differentiator territory yet. But
it's a start, and we're not going to solve it all in the next 10 minutes. I just want to show you concretely the process. You'd go through this and let's just say maybe they're not getting enough book calls. Maybe, I don't know why I put a T on enough book calls. So you would write, then you would all your headlines on that. So you would say, finally fill your calendar or something. Finally fill your calendar with firmed appointments. And so you could do this kind of headline test. So you'd run lots of headline tests. And then when's the one that won? Let's just imagine just for fun that this headline won. Okay. So how could you figure out the sub headline? This is a little bit less precise but I don't want to go into too many. I don't want to make this too complicated for you. The next thing you could do is actually just put the sub headline here. Get A, B, and C without AU. Basically, that's what you can do. And you can test different variants. And then based on what wins, you're going to know what makes sense here. And that's just so much faster. If you imagine the alternative is ridiculous. You probably can't afford to A/B test this website. It's a ton of work to imagine like testing the product against all these different users. But what you can easily do with marketing is just see what's the market response if I say this. And you can see, oh, look at when I talk to coaches specifically and I say, hey, coaches, I get your problem. Here it is. You're going to see which one of those gets a response. And there's a ton of coaches. Okay, so that is the meat of how you would go through testing these. And if you were to do this, say on Meta, you basically just want to make sure that each one of these ads is seen by around 400 people or so. And then after each ad has been seen by 400 people, whoever gets the highest click-through rate wins. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And that would help me refine the headline in addition to the 10, answering those 10 questions. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a quiver of tests like this, but this is what I wanted to share today. So don't give too much complex info. This is how you can get started optimizing, testing things without paying for A/B tests. This technique. Cool. Any other questions, Trevor?
Not particularly. Like my biggest part, like I mentioned, I'm still in that attaining product market fit phase. So basically the biggest part was just like, how do I figure out among my customers, like which of them to focus on? But you gave a good explanation of how, if you have like any more examples or any more advice, suggestions on that with the data I already have and the list I already have, that can help me out a bit more too.
Sure. Yeah, we can talk about that. How many customers do you have right now?
I have around 250. So not like a ton, but I have some. Yeah.
250. Okay, 250. And then do you have them like grouped into categories, like what type of user they are? What type of customer they are? Like so you said solopreneurs.
This is something that is probably going to require a bit more effort on my behalf to figure out. Maybe I might have to send out a survey, but just from the ones I've been able to interview personally, I've noticed that one major category is solopreneurs. Above that, and within solopreneurs, there are a lot of coaches. They're actually eclectic. So there's like SEO people. There are people who are doing things. There are people who are doing things where it's like 3D modeling things. There's even a doggy daycare guy. But then above that, there's the slightly bigger companies tend to be either software companies or marketing companies that are using this. So they're oriented towards, they're usually like, so one of them is like European, and they're basically, they have a whole bunch of different apps. And I guess they just put our bot in all of their apps to like help with their lead generation. And then they also the phone calls start. So they actually had me set some of that up for them. And so they really like that feature. And then above that, there's also like call centers also in that tier.
So you got call centers, marketing companies, solopreneurs, coaches, and doggy daycare.
Yes. A lot. Very eclectic mix. That's why it's difficult to figure out what to focus on.
Yeah. Okay. I would go about this in a couple of different ways. First way is I would try to roughly categorize your clients. Like you've got 250, that's enough. You could actually think through each one. It's not that bad. Sit there. Who are they? What are the attributes? And try to get it so that you can break it up into less than 10 categories. What kind of customers are these? And then I would just look at the categories, like what is the median value and the top 10% value, like lifetime value of each category. So you're able to say, okay, within the categories, which of these tend to have the most valuable group? And you don't really need to go after the average. It's really interesting to look at like the top few customers, because if you're one in a million, there's thousands of people like you on planet Earth. So if you find that there's a super high value, one single high value, because you're so small right now, it's just 250 people. If there's one single high value customer, you can probably find more people like that if you wanted to double down and get really specific about your marketing, right? That's one way. One way is just to go like bottom up, look at your numbers and see what do you know from the customers you already have. And that's super valuable because it's your data. You know what I mean? Like you really know it's true versus some saying, oh, coaches are growing at 30% compound growth rate. It's very different than, oh, I have these 3 users are paying me XYZ and they haven't churned. So that would be the first thing, just to see. The other thing I would do is, if that is an interesting category for you, I would go look at 3 direct competitors to you in that niche. So who else does and that you got more than 3 for this, right? So who else does this for those people? And I would look at 3 of them in super detail. What do they cost? How are they positioning themselves? So you can start to see, okay, I can't claim the same stuff. How can I be the best? what angle makes me the best for this specific problem. Do I pivot exactly what problem I'm talking about? You know what I mean? But first you have to see what's out there. And you don't have to explore, it doesn't have to be a giant project, but you have to really look at in detail 3 pages, 3 competitors. What exactly are they saying? How are they saying they're the best? So that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Kind of bottom up from your own data, like which customer segment has the highest LTV and the least effort, and then top down in the market, what are the top 3 folks? And I'm pretty sure I have a Google sheet for this that I can give you. Any other questions about this as I'm pulling this up?
Hey, Gene,
what's that, Philip?
Are you going to share the presentation
Canva? Sure. Yeah, sure. You guys will get it for sure. Let's see.
Oh, the Canva presentation. As you're gonna send it to us by email. One of the other things is, so like obviously call centers, among the groups that I mentioned, call centers are obviously the highest paying, and they tend to not need a lot of work to set up because they tend to all of that, right? But because of some of the customers that come in, they're international. There's this whole problem where a lot of companies that are out of Southeast Asia, for example, don't have the ability to actually use AI phone calling systems because of things like Twilio don't actually support their phone numbers.
Yeah.
So I'm actually in the process of building something that works for those phone numbers in those countries it has a pretty high technical barrier, and it's not something that can easily be replicated. How do I navigate that scenario? Because that's a very different scenario from the one I'm in currently.
Gotcha. Okay. So first of all, I share those 2 documents in the chat. So one of them is like a very basic Excel, Google Sheets, fill in the blanks for competitive analysis. Also, the Canva is in the chat. And so you're wondering, you want to know how you would test a big product pivot that's not free. It's going to take you a lot of effort to figure out if it's the right choice.
Yeah, to some extent, that's what I'm asking, but also about the splitting sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I worked with somebody in Y Combinator, and it's the same kind of similar, not exactly the same, but it's very similar. They had some technology and they didn't get any users. It was great technology. And the question was, like, how the hell should we sell this thing? What should it be? And what's the best way to market it? It's very similar. It's the same question. You're like, if you want to know, should I pivot? And not, you can answer a different question that will tell you the answer, a proxy question. So instead of saying, should I pivot to make this big technical effort and build this thing, you could just say, how much does it cost me to build a waiting list for both products? And if one of them is too expensive, then you don't have to build it. You don't have to build it. So that's what I would do. It's much, and I think the problem is when you have a lot of technical skill, if you're a technical founder, it's like, oh, I could just build this thing because you know how to do it already. And then you're sitting there like holding the bag, like I built the thing. Shit.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what you don't want to do. What you could do is basically, what I would personally do is I would make a totally different branded thing, different website for the other product. And before doing that, see if I could pre-sell it. So if you sell, that sounds like a high value. So if you can pre-sell it either with a landing page or if you're doing just direct sales, I would pre-sell the idea first. And if somebody buys it, then you can build it.
Okay. Yeah. I've just for reference, like I've already like halfway built it. So I've already put a significant investment, a time investment, into technical investment towards actually building it. So it's getting built one way or the other, but yeah, I should probably pre-sell while I'm building it. Because I would be careful with that.
It's getting built one way or the other, because what if nobody uses it?
Yeah, that would be a problem. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then you're like, it's because it's a sunk cost fallacy. You're like, I do
have one company that's lined up to use it right now already.
Yeah.
But they're high value. That is part of why it's already getting built.
Okay.
But
yeah. So then I would just get them to pay. If you can get them to pay, to prepay, or like a setup fee to get it installed on X date, give yourself enough time that you can get it working. That would be the lowest risk way to do that. If you already have one guy lined up, you do have to be wary of one pitfall that can happen in SaaS, which is you accidentally create a custom software service business.
Yes.
I've seen this happen. I've talked to companies where they are at like 2 or 3 million ARR and they have no cash flow. And they on the website, they have products. But then you talk to the founder, it's it's a big enterprise and they wanted this custom integration no one else wanted. And so we built that, but then it's always changing. And then I have to like make it work with the other, and they end up basically staffing the software development for one company. It's not a product anymore. And
that's not good. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just have to be wary of that pitfall that can happen. And that's why it's interesting to try and pre-sell something. You'll have to see what the value you're getting out of this deal is, but it's still worth trying to see, can I acquire customers just for that feature?
Okay, that's good. That's good. So yeah, and that feature, it's very easy. It's very easy for me to answer all the questions about who is my customer there.
Yeah.
Like, it's really easy for me to answer that as opposed to just
it's that one guy.
It's not just them, but it's like there's a specific need. It's okay if you're in any of these countries and you are a call center, then you're going to have these systems and you're going to want to have AI calling, and you don't have AI calling.
Gab, do you have any questions?
Yes, I have a follow-up question. I have pretty much the same problems as site. You already roasted with my webpage and my landing. Yeah. I don't mind sharing it, but you already gave me pretty much what was the list of problems. And me too. I do chatbots, FAQs, stuff like this. And basically, the question I had is, since I'll have a Shopify integration, I'll have WordPress integration, stuff like this. Is it a good idea to have like multiple landing page per niche? Basically, we have a use case section, and they have like,
they have different,
yeah, exactly. It's really
okay,
pages, but could you like A/B test your ads? Not only
for different users, yes,
for different headlines, even different like potential niche, which one? Because
I'll show you how to do that.
I don't even have a lot of clients. I should say like almost like I have 2 clients, friends, and I'm at the waitlist stage, right? So basically, I build the product and I have to sell it. And like Trevor said, it was getting built anyways because in my head, I have the infrastructure now. I can pivot anytime. It's using generative AI. Thought that I found a gap or an angle to sell my generative AI app. So if I pivot, I feel like it's just a detail of changing the landing page and changing what the output of the generative AI will be. But
so
if you were speaking French because of your first name, which is really French.
No, I'm French. I'm a French American living in Canada.
Oh, okay. French American living in Canada.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah.
That's different.
But I was born in Switzerland, so I speak French really slow. Okay. So I would say there's a couple of things. One, there's tests you can do, but it's also you're mentioning some kind of classic mistakes that you could make. I don't want you to make them. So the most classic mistake is I'm going to go for horizontal expansion. I'm going to add a bunch of verticals, and that's how I'm going to grow. And that makes sense if you're enormous. If you're really big and you say, because anytime you add anything net new, you add a whole bunch of risk. Every new action to your business is like a lot of risk because you don't know how to do it. You don't know what the problems are. It's just grass is greener, but you don't know what it is really. And then when you're in it, you suddenly have informed pessimism. You're like, oh, I see why this is not easy. And you have to solve those problems. And if you keep adding verticals, it's like one of the hardest things to do because you have to completely understand another type of customer segment. And so if you're at a couple million ARR and you're saying, how can we expand? I think we've maxed out our growth rate for coaches and now we need to add consultants. You know what I mean? Like then you could add another, you really could. You may be the easiest, lowest risk thing. But at the very beginning, you really have to focus on one person, one specific topic. It's very hard to get it right with 8 and be like, oh, I'm going to juggle 8 of them. And I'm going to each of them. I'm going to totally understand them, speak to them specifically and get great conversion rates. And that's why I have this huge website. That's a catalog of all the people I could help. It's easier to just take one, win in that one, then grow the business in just that one for a long time and then add another one. That is way less risk because all your marketing is like about demonstrating displayed understanding of that group. And you're saying, I know you can believe me because I speak your language. I know your problem. I've been in it. I've solved it for all these people. It's so processized. We turn it to software. For most folks, it's very hard to say, and we do it for everyone. And actually we have 8 websites. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, I totally understand. The thing is, I've read a bit on the topic and everybody says the same thing.
Yep.
But I'm still like, I have the defect or something in my head
I know.
that basically says, you know what? Because for example, if I do the chatbots for the real estate brokers, okay?
Yeah.
They have products, which are their client listings. And the bot will be able to answer questions relative to the client's questions about their products, which is the listings, right? If I do the chatbots for Shopify store owners, it's the same exact concept, but instead of having listing, they might be selling mugs or t-shirts or whatever. The mechanics are the same. So this is
the mechanics of it. Yeah, the mechanics of the app are the same, but the marketing's totally different.
Yeah, I totally
That's the problem.
I'm just explaining why I'm doing this mistake.
Yep, I get it.
But since I have like almost zero client, but I didn't market or anything, any advertising or anything yet. But I understand the thing. It's just
you could. So here's the thing: you can actually do a test around this, but some things are very easy to test because the answer is out there. You can just say, "Hey, universe, what is the objective response for this thing?" But there are other areas in business where you just have to decide that's what I'm going. Like this is the hill we're dying on. Like I'm making this work. And niche is a little bit like that. You can pivot as you learn more about who has the money and can get results within the segment. But it's very hard. It's just having gone through it. I'm just imagining the amount of work it would take to actually win at that. You would need a big team. It's just, I don't know how one human being could do it. It's so much to understand 8 different types. Yeah. But you can test it. It's just, instead of doing that, I would just pick one. That's what I would.
I will definitely test it, but I have an idea of where we will target first. Like I think I'll go with the Shopify because they have a marketplace. So I feel like that is going to help me to get eyeballs on the product also. But that's something. E-commerce, there's money in e-commerce. And so if you wanted to test where's my thing? Where's my little boop? Yeah. Here's this one. This wasn't my template, was it? Oh, good. I thought I ruined my template. The way you would do this, you can have the same headline. So let's go with one that has headlines. You can do the same headline and just change the who. Brand, e-com. You can try that as well. You have to change the targeting for each one, but it is possible to run a set of headlines and run a whole set with one who and another set with a different who call out just to see the response difference. So that is possible. Not recommended though. Cool. Any other questions, guys? Do you have that help or you're still? I know the answer, but sometimes I just need to remind myself of it.
Yeah.
Because thanks.
You're welcome. All right, guys. The templates are in the chat. And I'll also just email out a copy of this. And thanks for coming to the workshop.
Thank you very much, John. You have no idea like how beneficial this is for me, just how much I needed your exact insights here. So I appreciate it very much. And I highly recommend it to my other entrepreneur friends.
Jay. Thank you very much for that.
You are welcome.